definitely a public outcry that's being heard, which is really encouraging to me because that's the way governing is supposed to be, and it's really refreshing to see our governor and others listen to the will of the people or the people who elected them. So, the question is it legal for a governor to deter refugees from coming into the state? And basically the short answer we got is no, it's not. It's a federal program, and they can't really do that. But one comment that was made by the State Department was they like to settle refugees where they know they're going to be a good fit and they're welcome. So I'm not suggesting people make anyone unwelcome, but there is a real threat here because another thing we basically learned is that there is no viable vetting process for refugees coming out of Syria. James Comey said that the information we use is only as good as what we can get, and frankly, with Assad in power in Syria, we basically have no database from which to do any kind of background checks, criminal background checks, etc. So you're essentially just taking a leap of faith by interviewing these folks first through the United Nations, and then our own departments and agencies go through and question them to determine whether or not they could be involved in any kind of terroristic activity against the United States. And it's pretty unsettling to see so many of these camps full of single young 20-year-old something males that are healthy, muscular, and it doesn't fit the profile of your typical refugee. The most obvious that we'll try to do is defund the program, and we have an omnibus spending bill that's due by December 11th, and so there's no doubt there will be a lot of pressure there to prevent that funding. Now, of course, we're going to get hit from the left as being incompassionate, and there's definite humanitarian needs, and I don't dispute that. There are refugees from the Syrian civil war that are women and children, and they're in bad shape. However, it's a situation where there's no one even close to the United States in humanitarian efforts, and we probably spent, I was going to get the exact number for you, but it's in the $3 to $4 billion range that we've spent on Syria alone in humanitarian aid, providing food, shelter, water. And so, you got to ask yourself, is it better to set up a no-fly zone, a safe zone in Syria, northern Iraq, and create a livable refugee camp for these folks, and then when the civil war ends, repatriate them to their own country rather than bringing them to our country or settling them in Europe or surrounding nations? And it seems to me that would be the most productive means rather than having tens of thousands of refugees basically jump the line of the legal immigration process that's so broken in this country and have them come here, which is much more expensive. So when we get the humanitarian argument, we are providing a tremendous amount of humanitarian aid, and we've always been the leader on that, and I think we're proud to do that to help people in need. But when our first priority is to keep the American people safe, and I cannot get on your show this morning and tell people that I can guarantee we can do that by allowing these essentially unvetted refugees into this country. So we will fight them with the power of the purse. I think public opinion is going to be huge on this one. When you get that many states joining together, legal or not, it tells the president that this is something that's just not going to work for us, and so I really hope people will continue to be vocal. What about charity? What has always worked for centuries, and instead of having the government tell you how they're going to spend your tax dollars, and usually a big share of it gets wasted, how about if you contribute to the Red Cross or an agency that you feel comfortable with contributing to, and you can help out in that fashion? And so it would be nice, instead of having big government tell us how we're going to help, to actually let people make those decisions. So I think that's something we can all do. We're Christians, and we want to help people. And I pointed out yesterday on Stuart Varney that if there was a radical element within the Christian religion that was doing this type of thing, beheading people, mass killings and shootings, I guarantee people within the own religion would police their own, because it makes you look bad. And there are Muslims that are denouncing this. They acknowledge that radical Islam exists, and they're embarrassed about it. Our own president cannot say the words radical Islamic terrorist. Hillary Clinton cannot say it either. And sadly, that's the reality. Everybody knows it, why they're in denial about this or why they think it's so politically incorrect.